Alright, this is my idea group video. You might be wondering why I told you guys not really to worry about idea groups. So that's because, much like League of Legends and World of Warcraft, the true fact is of any system that gives you a lot of choice, some choices just end up being the best, which is just true in, EU4 too. So I'm going to tell you why you don't really have to worry. There are really 3 or 4 ways to go about your idea groups. Even though you're seeing a lot of them, the truth is that there's only really 3 or 4 ways to go about. The first is you go economic. This is a later start date, so obviously, you know. And I'm going to cheat here. And we're going to give myself... Yeah, I could actually have done this a lot better. So we're going to fill these out. And I will show you. Oh wow, it's going to take a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. God damn it. Okay, everything's getting screwed up here. I have to click all that crap, aren't I? And so I'm just filling these out. You'll see soon enough why I'm filling them out. For now, you're just gonna see me having to click a lot and waste time, really. And no, these sheets don't work in multiplayer. You can hold enter to clear, by the way. Alright, so now that I've filled out economic and quality, what does economic do? Economic gives you taxes, build cost reduction, yearly inflation reduction, less interest on your loans, reduces your autonomy monthly, reduces the maintenance for your armies, land armies, increases your production, and finally gives you a huge bonus to reducing development cost. What does quality do? Quality gives you infantry combat, yearly army tradition, cavalry combat, ship durability, morale of navies, naval attrition reduction, artillery combat bonus, and discipline. Both pretty good, but what really combines them is they have a policy to give 5% discipline. Discipline is the strongest stat in the game. What are policies? You spend 1 per month for at least 10 years. In this case, 1 administrative per month for 10 years, and you can repeal it after 10 years, but for now, I just have 5% more discipline. So now, you'll notice I have 10% more discipline from quality and economic and their policy. In addition, economic makes you good chunks of money, reduces your land maintenance, reduces your development cost. Development cost reduction is pretty good, means I can do things like have low development costs, as you'll see. Everything's pretty low. That's probably one of the most popular starts right there. Now, other popular starts are to, well, let's see. From here, though, you're probably wondering, well, what do I do from here? Well, 50% of your ideas are going to have to be military ideas. That's just the truth. And you can see here, if I hover an idea, it'll say, okay, with economic it does that. Oh, with economic it does that. Well, you'll notice here that if I go quantity, quality, economic, my policy becomes to give me 33% more force limit. You remember, force limit is a thing right here, how many armies I can have. So what I could do is if I go quantity, and you remember, quantity gives you regiment cost reduction and land maintenance modifier reduction, which stacks with this land maintenance modifier reduction, to reduce the cost of my armies considerably. Now, a little trick is that if you build an army with reduced regiment cost, the maintenance of the army goes down. Maintenance of your army is dependent upon the initial cost of the army. So with all 3 of these things, I'm getting 20% reduction here and another 10% reduction here for a total of 28% reduced maintenance on my armies. And you might remember quantity, if you know anything about quantity, gives you more national manpower recovery, and more land force. In addition to reducing your attrition, increasing your garrison, giving you a bigger navy, etc., etc. And then the policy would be, it's grade right now because you have to complete them. The policy then gives me even more land. So I've got a big army that's very high quality. This is a very popular start. From here, what some people will do is go things like innovative is a decent one because you get that policy for 20% infantry combat. Innovative itself has some decent things in it. It's not the best tree, but it's got that reduced monthly war exhaustion, 25% reduced advisor cost, which helps you get more better advisors, gives you prestige reductions. You can keep your prestige higher for longer. Where's prestige? Here's prestige. Reduces your technology cost, allowing you to save administrative points. Another decent way is some people like to go humanist, because humanist then gives you a policy with quantity to give you yearly army tradition and land leader shock. That allows you to get better generals and to keep your army tradition higher. Now discipline reduces the damage you take and increases the damage you deal. Very, very potent. The best stat in the game. Army tradition, on the other hand, increases the higher your army tradition, the better rolls for your general. So if you have high army tradition, your generals tend to roll up better. In addition, you can see it gives you morale of army, manpower recovery, army recovery, siege, all in low quantities. As you see, you really need to get up to 100 army tradition to make these worthwhile. At 100, though, you get 10% morale, 5% recovery, etc., etc. It's not the best, but, it's a good stat to have, especially because it helps you roll up better generals. Better generals are very important. So if I wanted to do that, I could go humanist. Now you're wondering, what does humanist do for you? Humanist gives you religious unity, allowing you to conquer people without tanking your religious unity. You can see I've got other people that are totemist and Sunni. It also gives you national unrest reduction, less rebellions, gives you tolerance of heretics, less rebellions, gives you years of separatism. Remember, separatism is when you conquer people, they get years of separatism, which is they rebel. If you conquer somebody, they want to rebel. Reducing the years of separatism substantially reduces the chance of rebellion. Between the national unrest reduction, the years of separatism, the tolerance of heretics, the tolerance of heathens, the accepted culture threshold reduction by 50%, Humanist effectively ensures you that you will not have many rebellions in your empire. It also reduces the cost of further ideas. Some people would like to go, for example, they'll go humanist into quality. That means you won't get a policy right away, but it will let you conquer people pretty quickly and not have to deal with rebellions. Remember, the less rebellions you incur, the less you have to send troops, the less manpower you lose. Now, let's say, from there, now this is when you're starting to get, way later in the game. So from here, you still need to go 50% of your ideas. So here, a good one is offensive and quality, or offensive and economic gives you artillery combat. So let's say I didn't want to go quantity, I wanted to go offensive. Well, okay, so now instead of having a policy for having more troops, I now get more artillery combat. Artillery is very important, that's why infantry combat is 20%, but artillery combat is 10%. Artillery combat is very potent. So okay, to this setup here, I would have gone economic quality, then humanist, because I was like, okay, I wanted to go humanist to reduce my rebellion so I could start to chain conquer, but, you still got to get offensive. Now, from here, you can weigh your options. Do I want to go quantity here? And then, you could go fifth idea quantity. From there, you go, okay, what do I want from here? Now, this is where it starts to get a little bit more interesting. You could go, where is it? Expansion, because expansion at the end gives you a casus belli against everybody in Asia and Africa. Meaning, I could go down here and look at these people. Look at all this tax base I could make into a trade company. Trade companies are a little bit more complicated. If you guys need to know about them, I'll just tell you in game. But you could start using your casus belli to just conquer all of India very quickly. Oh, you might be noting, okay, so here's superior unit types, okay? Here's what you do. Impulse infantry is superior to white coat infantry. Click on white coat infantry, click on any of these. Either of these, but I'll just click on the top one. Boom, you're done. That's it. That's all it is. Okay, but let's let's look around at different examples. So that's a very potent start, but let's say you really don't care about money, you're very rich, you're never really going to develop, you're going to spend all your points on conquering the shit out of people. What would you do then? Okay? A good start then is you might want to just go humanist starting. That's a popular start as the Ottomans. Just go humanist at the start. Boom, 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 boom. That gets you that, everything I just talked about. So what combos with humanist is, what was it, quantity? Quality? Yeah, that was it. No, that wasn't it. Was it? What the shit was it? Am I crazy? Well, defensive does have a combo with humanist, which reduces your land attrition by 25%. The recovery army morale speed is kind of but that 25% reduced land attrition could be very important. This isn't like an amazing start, but this is a reasonable start, especially if you're having manpower issues because you're conquering. Between humanist and defensive, defensive gives you yearly army tradition, better generals, all those stats, very good stuff. Gives you more morale armies, morale potent stuff. Land leader maneuver is allows you to move your armies quicker. Allows you to, if you have more maneuver than your opponent, you can attack over rivers on him. If I have 4 maneuver and he has 3 maneuver, I can attack over a river and I won't get the river penalty. So defensive allows you to move within your terrain a little bit better. Reduces your land maintenance modifier. Good stuff. Gives your forts more defense, reduces their maintenance, good stuff. Reduces your increases your reinforce speed by 33%, good stuff. That means if I lose a battle and I retreat, I reinforce my army 33% quicker. Now, that does increase the gold it takes to reinforce them, because you have to remember, gold taken to reinforce is per soldier, not over time. So it's not like, oh, this army is reinforcing, lose 20 gold. It's, you've just reinforced 2,000 soldiers, lose 2,000 gold to soldiers. Also reduces your land attrition by another 25%. And then, and this is a big one, increases the attrition for enemies by 1. That's 1% per month they lose because you're full defensive. And then if you remember, if you combine the 25% land attrition with the policy, you can see it's in yellow. You can see humanist ideas in yellow. For another 25, you only take half land attrition. This isn't a very popular way to go, but it is a possibility for countries like the Ottomans, who already pretty much have good everything. Now, if you're in the middle of nowhere, if you're in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, and all you're going to be doing is conquering, administrative might be your way to go, because it reduces your core creation costs by 25%. The problem with administrative, and you're going to be finding this, is that you're looking at this and you're going, so what does administrative combo with? You're looking at these and you're going like, well, okay, it doesn't combo with that. It doesn't combo with that either. Okay, it doesn't combo with that. And it doesn't combo with that. It really doesn't combo with anything. The best you're going to get is quantity for the manpower recovery speed and the land maintenance reduction. Those are both pretty decent. But you can't... Quantity doesn't tend to... Well... Quantity can work, I should say. If you're very rich and you just want to drown people in numbers. Because you have to remember, even if somebody has 10% discipline on you, if you're fighting them with 2-to-1 odds, they're going to lose. So if you're just using quantity to get you... Because you have to remember, quantity gives you 50% more troops, but it doesn't reduce your maintenance. You would have to reduce your maintenance by 33% to make up for the fact that you're getting more troops. Quantity is an expensive idea. Overall, quantity is the most potent military idea, but it's also incredibly expensive to maintain, you know, having that many troops, which is why people typically don't get it until their 3rd or 4th idea when they can start to afford them. Okay, so this is one way to go. Now, the other way to go is to just ignore it for now and just say, okay, I went administrative because I'm in an area where I don't really have to fight and I can just chain conquer. Do worry, though, that administrative is kind of like... building, I don't know, an avarice blade or something, if we're going to look at from League of Legends. You're leaving yourself way open because you effectively went with an idea group that does not help you in warfare at all. It reduces your mercenary maintenance by 33%, which is good, but you have to remember mercenary maintenance is 250%. So all you're doing is you're reducing it down to 217%. So it's not a true 33% reduce. Gets you less interest, gets you mercenary costs. Remember, I'm not going to go into this. Well, no, I'll go into it. Reducing the cost of all your units. Okay, let's say, for example, I reduce the cost of my infantry. That would reduce the cost of all infantry, of their maintenance, of their initial price, etc. But if I reduce the cost of my mercenaries, that does not reduce the cost of their maintenance. That's why mercenary cost reduction is so big compared to regiment cost reduction of 10%. This is 25%. This is why the mercenary maintenance is 33%. Mercenary recruitment just gets you more mercenaries. In a long war, you might be like, oh shit, I gotta hire all these people. And then you hire all of them. And then you're like, oh, I only got like 7 people. I needed like 30,000 mercenaries. Well, this helps you get... So if you're rich, and this is what I'm saying, this is... If you're incredibly rich, this is a very potent way to go. Some people like to go this for Spain, Portugal. Some people like it on the Ottomans. It's really up to you, but it's not popular. Now here is a very popular way to go. Religious, quality, quantity. You might be wondering, what does that give me? Religious... Oh, did I do this wrong? Okay. No, I did it right. Okay. So see, religious, obviously, it does what religious does. It also does some other neat stuff. Gives you permanent casus belli against people of other religions or heretics. Gives you another missionary so you can convert quicker. Reduces your stability cost by 25%. Highly religious empires tend to not really have to spend much on stability. Gives you more missionary strength, that's big. Gives you tolerance of the true faith, and whatever religion you have, it helps you out. Typically, Catholics get the most out of religious because 2 yearly papal influence is kind of a big deal. Tolerance of the true faith is... Actually, you can see it right here. See how my unrest? Tolerance plus 6. So, it's not... It's a later start date, so it is a little bit wonky. But effectively, this reduces your unrest for that. But and you can see tolerance of heretics at -4, so heretics will get -4 unrest. Heathens will get -2 unrest. So heathens are actually less likely to rebel than heretics for me right now. But either way, where am I going? So this gives you -1 unrest on basically your religion. It also gives you a yearly prestige, that's potent. Gives you missionary strength versus heretics, that's gonna become important during the, you can see the, Protestant Revolution happened, and things happened with it. And then lastly, I'm in the wrong thing. Lastly, it gives you culture conversion cost reduction. Helps you culture convert if you're trying to conquer. Religious, very potent. Now this is a way, for example, Russia would go. Russia would like this setup here. Because you might notice in the policies, you can get 10% morale armies, 2.5% discipline. That's the second best policy in the game. And then quantity, morale armies 10%, recover army morale speed 5%. Those two policies give you 20% morale, 2.5% discipline, and 5% faster recovering in your morale. Huge. You'll have a large army. Now, the only issue is, again, quantity's a little bit expensive, so Russia tends to not actually go with the quantity side, because, yeah, the quality is a better policy, the quantity is a weaker one. So Russia might do something like offensive or defensive. You'll notice that typically you're not going to get a good policy out of here. Now, you might be wondering, okay, but what if I'm weird? Okay, if you're weird, then this is a setup you can go with. Because offensive and innovative give you land leader siege and siege ability. That's one way to go. Offensive, generally speaking, is the best standalone idea group without looking at policies. So if you really cannot, you just simply cannot afford the 1 per month for a policy. Which would be dumb. You can. But, this would be a way to go too, because you get 20% infantry combat and you get Good stuff. So really what you're doing, there's only a set amount of ways you can go. Now, what ideas will you never get? You will never get espionage. You will never get trade. Trade can be useful, but generally speaking, economic is better. There are certain people who can get trade, but the blunt fact of the matter is that, and this is what sucks, is that trade just doesn't increase your money from trade very much. That's a problem. It just doesn't. And so because of that, it tends to be less useful. If you're trying to get an idea for to have more diplomatic relations, because you want more allies, you want more reputation, influence is your way to go. Influence reduces your diplomatic annexation cost. That's when you annex your vassals. Gives you less aggressive expansion. Gives you reduced time to fabricate claims. Gives you more income from vassals. Your vassals give you more force limit. Blah, 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 blah. Influence is a good way to go. Problem with influence, as you're noticing here, its policies are pretty shit. Really, the best way to go is if you went innovative. Wow, I can't click on anything. Quality and influence. You'll notice here I get a policy from innovative that gives me advisor cost reduction and aggressive expansion impact. 10% advisor cost increased with this 25% advisor cost gets me 35% reduced advisor costs, allowing me to pay pretty good for advisors. In addition, 10% aggressive expansion comboed with the 20% gives me 30% reduced aggressive expansion. Problem with this is that, well, I won't say there's a problem. This does allow you to annex people much quicker. So if you're doing a vassal feed tactic, which is, I'll get into that not now, or really ever, this is pretty good. Other than that, I've pretty much gone through all of them. From there, if you really need to explore, like let's say you want to set up colonies, you're noticing exploration. Okay, what could I get from this? Very little. Now, there is one. If you go exploration quality, you get a policy that increases your manpower recovery, which is potent, and reduces your land attrition, which is not the best, but this one will really help your manpower in a war. In a wartime scenario, this will really help your manpower not get obliterated. And the guy who runs out of manpower the slowest tends to win, because whoever has to spam mercenaries tends to start to bankrupt themselves. And you can start doing things. If you notice your opponent is starting to fill up on mercenaries, you can do things to start to try to bankrupt him. This is decent. The only problem with this is you don't get a good military policy. Now, one policy isn't going to break the bank, so this is a good start here. Then, obviously, from here, you can go innovative, get that 20% infantry combat. If you don't want to go innovative, then you can just do what I said earlier. You go economic. Boom. Now you're actually starting to get really good policies. Oh, but what's that? Economic? Oh, now you go offensive. Now you get artillery combat. Now you got some really good policies with this setup. If you're going to go exploration, this is pretty much your setup. The only question is economic. You could try to replace with innovative. If you're really never going to develop and you're just conquering, innovative is a decent idea group. Because you have to remember, with this combo, you get 20% infantry combat, you get the land leader siege and siege ability, which becomes more and more important as the game goes on. If you really don't care about either of those, then really what you can do, you can try to do it for yourself, and you can be like, alright, what policies would I get here? Noticing you wouldn't get very good ones. You could go for administrative, and really still, you're not going to get very good ones. You could be like, alright, what about expansion? And really still, expansion quantity is still good. Land leader, fire, yearly army tradition. So, if that's what you're doing, you're like, I'm going to conquer the New World, and I'm going to conquer India. This could be one setup. This setup would kind of leave you weak, though, because you're not going to, well, colonies do tend to make you money. So, really, I know I've gone on for nearly 30 minutes here, but I hope you should start to get the plan. Really, 6 idea groups is like endgame. That's when the game starts to break down. Really, 4 idea groups is when you need a combo going. I've had lots of people who don't go with a 4 idea group combo. I play with a guy who always screws this up. He's always like, well, these seemed like good ideas at the time, and then he does no good policies. Gets to wartime, I unlock 4 of my policies. He unlocks 0 because he has no good policies, and I crush through him. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? For example, he'll do something like, he'll go administrative, because he's like, yeah, I'm Sweden, I've reduced my core cost, I've reduced my mercenary cost, that's fantastic, and I'll go offensive, because I want a better army, and you know what, I kind of want to trade, so I'll go trade, and I'm going to need a better army, so I'll go quality, and now you're looking, and like, oh, what policies do I have? I got recover army morale speed, and trade efficiency, and okay, maybe not there. Okay, what else do I have? I got trade efficiency and embargo efficiency and income from vassals. Oh, my policies are all worthless. Don't do that. Other things you might be thinking of doing is, okay, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna diplo next people, so I go influence, and then I want a good army, so I'll go offensive, and my army is still kind of losing, so I'll go quality, and now I kind of want to, I don't know, I want to conquer more people, so I'll go humanist. Okay, great, so now I can conquer people, and, you know, first off, this makes no sense, because humanist is you conquering people, influence is vassal feeding. Now, I'm not saying influence doesn't work. Obviously, you do conquer people and vassal feed at the same time. But now step back and you look at the policies and you're like, oh. So don't do this. Plan out your policies. Plan out your ideas. Don't get into a situation where you have 4 ideas and you have 0 useful policies. You have to remember, too, all the military ideas are doing is making your army better. End result, they might as well read, makes your army better to fight with. So, if you're like, but offensive is better than no. Generally, all it's doing is making your army better to fight with. If quality is going to give you better policies than offensive, then ignore that offensive, just go quality. Now, you might be wondering, what does offensive do? Gives you land leader shock, land leader fire, reduces your recruitment time, gives you double the prestige from battles, lets you siege faster, gives you 20% more force limit, gives you discipline, lets your army recover morale better. Generally speaking, if you wanted to get one idea group to make your army the best, that would be offensive. But quality isn't far behind. You have to remember, quality does give 3 ideas to ships, which is why people tend to not. But quality does give you the same discipline, gives you artillery combat, cavalry combat, infantry combat, gives you that yearly army tradition, which, as you might remember, gives you better generals. So this one gives you a land leader shock and a land leader fire. I'm getting better generals too. I'm relying a little bit more on RNG, whereas he's just, every general he rolls will be that amount. But, and then let's say defensive. Even defensive can give you good policies. It's rare for defensive to give you good policies, but defensive is a very, very potent one-off, just because that attrition for enemies, reducing your attrition, increasing your reinforced speed is huge. Got that fort maintenance, land maintenance, land leader maneuver, morale of armies 15%, yearly army attrition. You might be wondering, have I ever talked about aristocratic or naval? No. These are the 4 ones. By the end of the game, you want these 4 ones. Boop, 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 boop. You will want all 4 of these by 8 ideas. You're never going to go into aristocratic. There are very few times where people want to go into aristocratic. Poland, for example, can do aristocratic. The problem with aristocratic is it's not really a military idea group. I mean, it's better, but army tradition decay is much weaker than just gaining it in the first place. It's only giving you 25% manpower, whereas quantity gives you 50%. The cavalry units are the weakest in the game. So even though they reduce their cost and increase their combat, whereas quality only increases their combat, it's still not very potent. And in addition to that, this is local nobility, which means people that conquer you have to spend more to conquer you. So let me throw out an idea. Like, if you were like, okay, I'm a dick, and I'm just gonna sit here and build up my territories, never really try to conquer people, this could be one setup you go with. Now, the problem with this is that you didn't really get any policies here. So yeah. Now this, if you're not interested in policies, you just want to sit there, you just want to be, I don't know, Sweden, and you're like, you know what, I don't really feel like playing this game actually. I'm just gonna sit here. It's gonna be expensive to core me. I got attrition for enemies. I'm also in the winter, so you're gonna have to attack in the winter. And I'm just gonna sit here and use my development cost reduction to just click development over and over again. I'm just gonna be like, click, 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 click. I'm entirely joking, by the way. Do not do this. Alright, that about wraps it up. The only thing I can tell you is that follow these. Don't really go outside of them. Seriously, guys. Especially if you're new, go with one of the two groups I talked about earlier. You know, go with economic quality as your starter if you're new. If you're not going to conquer much, economic quality, big deal. If you're expecting to conquer into opponents' religion a lot, go religious quality quantity. That's a potent one. If you're not rich and you're going to conquer people, religious quality, and then, well, from here it's interesting. Not defensive, though. I think the best you can do... Not even offensive. Yeah, that's a big problem. Is there no really good policies. Now, remember, you could get 5 policies unlocked, but it would bleed your military power 5 per month. Which is why economic quality is so goddamn powerful. Is their 5% discipline policy takes administrative power. So you could have, for example, 2 military policies firing and 1... from the economic quality, and you're only bleeding 1 administrative, 2 military, which will still allow you to keep up militarily. The problem, yeah, it's so powerful right now. And that's really all I have to say. So that's the video. There's your ideas. That's what you want to do, at least in a multiplayer setting. That's what you want to do. All right, that's the video.